And today with me here is Dewa Mavinga's testimony before the United States Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, and I'm going to touch on mainly 4 parts of his presentation. And the first part reads: there have been no indication that the Mnangagwa administration intends to ensure the independence and enhance the professionalism of the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission. Then the other part reads: the new president Mnangagwa assumed office with military backing and appointed 2 army generals to cabinet, Air Marshal Perence Shiri and Major General Sibusiso Moyo. Then the other part reads: it is important now that the military leadership publicly announced its commitment to credible, free and fair election, and that it respects the outcome of the elections. Then the other part reads: Human Rights Watch urges Congress to maintain existing US policy towards Zimbabwe until the military removes itself from politics and the 2018 elections are legitimately assessed to be peaceful, transparent, free and fair, and the power is smoothly transmitted to the newly elected government. I want to talk on to make reference to how the Dewa Mavinga, the Mr. Dewa Mavinga, misrepresent information. He states that the president appointed army generals, and he went on to say Air Marshal Perence and Major General Sibusiso Moyo. Yet these people, they are retired. So if he mentions issues like this is a misrepresentation of information. When you say a military personnel, and you went on to say Air Marshal Perence, it seems as if the person is actually an Air Marshal, and at the same time is in the cabinet, and he is a Major General, and he is in cabinet. He is a retired Lieutenant General Sibusiso Moyo, and he is being referred to as Major General Sibusiso Moyo. I think this is unfair on the part of Mr. Dewa Mavinga's testimony to absolutely misrepresent information so that it suits his purpose. But however, all these issues were said in an attempt to justify the view that he held that the military leadership was going to refuse to accept the outcome of the election result. It's unfortunate that today the very person who had to travel miles, thousands of miles to America to tell the Americans or to tell the subcommittee that certain elements in the military are going to refuse the outcome of the elections are the very people who are refusing the outcome of the elections. And it's extremely embarrassing that this certain Mr. Mavinga has the chicken audacity to go into the US Senate to tell them about military appointment into civilian office. Why would the US has appointed a lot of military personnel in their Congress, in their Senate? They are ex-military personnel, and it's not essential to Zimbabwe to have ex-military personnel in civilian offices. So I think it's not an issue that someone can be raising in America so that he can substantiate the continuation of the US policy on Zimbabwe until the military removes itself from the politics. I think it's treacherous on the part of Mr. Mavinga to be saying this. I mean, we have all seen the effects of these so-called targeted sanctions on ordinary citizens. Their adverse effects on ordinary citizens is unbearable. I think it's time the US really listens to the voices of the Zimbabweans, to the voices of people who are at the grassroots, not of these self-seeking politicians of little ability. I don't really want to focus much on issues that divide us as a nation, but enjoy focusing on issues that are uniting us as a nation. But sometimes there are issues that we really have to make analysis of, and of course my it's based on my opinion, but I think it's extremely treacherous of a Zimbabwean or Zimbabweans to really continue saying the US should uphold its policy on, especially when it comes to sanctions on Zimbabwe, with the nature of the effects that the sanctions have had on ordinary Zimbabweans. I think what we should focus on as Zimbabweans is the nature of our economy, is in the nature of the system, what we are facing as Zimbabweans today. This is what we should really focus on. I think the issue to do with corruption is one of the most important issues that we as Zimbabweans, we need to really unite against corruption. And now that the current government have announced its intentions to zero tolerance to corruption, we basically assume that there is political will, there is willingness, there is commitment to really deal with corruption. It's just unfortunate that our judiciary system have not been dealing well with issues that have been presented to them, especially in relation to corruption, especially the recent acquittance of a lot of people, like the likes of Mdenke, the likes of Whitney Ochivayo. I mean, I don't see in this is some. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, I'm not a magistrate, neither am I a prosecutor. But there is no rationale in making a Zimbabwe Power Company pay weekly 25 million. With the state of ZPC today, is being forced to pay someone who didn't do his job, someone who misrepresented information to ZPC. I think corruption is living another day in Zimbabwe, and I think there should be extreme and adequate commitment by the judiciary system to really deal with issues to do with corruption. I think Chief Justice Malava is not doing his job properly, if I'm to say, when it comes to issues to do with corruption. I think there should be a serious crackdown on corruption, because my perception is, if someone is being accused of $1 million fraud and that person is given $1,000 bail, I think it's a way of incentivizing those people to continue to do corruption. It's a way of incentivizing even the other person who is out there who is doing corruption. I think corruption should be dealt with decisively, and there should be an extreme crackdown on corruption so that you disincentivize people to continue engaging in corrupt activities. Because my perception is, we are where we are today because of corruption. Why am I saying so? This is what corruption does. Corruption, for instance, someone is given a tender and there is a certain amount of money that is paid upfront so that they can kickstart the project. Then that person doesn't kickstart the project, or does a half-baked job. What it then means is that money is as good as it has been thrown into a drain. Why? Because the project is unfinished, or the project was not even done. For instance, the issue to do with Intratrack, the project was not done, but then ZPC is being forced again to pay that person. This is why we have got a lot of targets that are not working. Those are elephant projects. In fact, corruption will lead to the existence of what we call elephant projects. These are projects which are either not finished, or they are finished but they cannot start working because of certain malfunctions of those projects. For instance, look at the nature of these tenders that we have in Zimbabwe today, that have been given to certain persons who have done a half job. So I think there should be a serious crackdown on corruption, because these people, they are destroying our economy. look at the issue of these money changers. Where are they getting the money? It's quite surprising that you go to a bank today and they will tell you there is no money in the bank, but you go into the streets, you would find someone with very new $2 or $5 notes. How did they acquire those new $5 or $2 notes? That's the effects of corruption. Now, the money that is supposed to be in the bank is on the streets. This is another manifestation of corruption. So I think this is what we as Zimbabweans, we as one people should really focus on. I think the time for politics have passed. There should be an extreme commitment, an extreme political will within Zimbabweans, because trust me, Zimbabwe is our country. Zimbabwe is our home. So there is no one, there is no European, there is no American who will ever come to Zimbabwe to create a better Zimbabwe for us. We are the ones who can create a better Zimbabwe for ourselves. So I think what we should do, we should realign our thinking. We should re-strategize, regroup, and really focus on how we are going to crack down on corruption, on how we can make our voices be heard by the government, so that the government can make sure there is a certain political will in dealing with corruption. For instance, the other manifestation of corruption in a certain peculiar form is when you find a company like Total, a company like Glow, big companies like Petrotrade, all these big companies, they will tell you, we are not swiping this card, or we are not using EcoCash, but we are using this. There is no proper policy follow-up by the respective ministries. I think that's where I'm saying there is a lack of political will, either by the responsible authorities or by us, the people, that we then tolerate such tendencies or such uncanny behaviors that are being perpetrated, that are being done by companies that are inflating prices, companies that are abusing us as citizens. I think it's unfair on the part of big filling stations like Total to say we are not using EcoCash today, we are using Telecash. We only have fuel for the coupon, we only have fuel for swipe. Today we don't want swipe, or we only want cash. I think it's unfair, and I think the government should really find a way to deal with such issues, such problems. That's what I think Zimbabweans generally should be focusing on today. Because when it comes to politics, in politics, that's where we can talk of being ZANU-PF, that's where we can talk of being in MDC. But when it comes to the economy, there is no ZANU-PF, there is no MDC, there are only Zimbabweans when it comes to the economy. When it comes to the economy, we really have to realign our thinking. We really have to focus on what are the things that are destroying our economy. What role can you play for your nation to make sure that the agenda for development is realized? I think, and I have always held this idea that the youth leagues are not necessarily and fully doing their jobs, because I think it's the youth league that are very much engaging. Those are the young people. We have got access to grassroots. We've got access to what is happening in the community, and unfortunately the ZANU-PF Youth League is not doing that. It has not initiated a developmental program that are aimed at empowering young people. I think they should really engage with young people. They should engage even with, because when we talk of empowerment, we are not really focusing on who is this. Is this ZANU-PF? Is this guy ZANU-PF? Is this girl ZANU-PF? We are looking at Zimbabweans as citizens, because the moment we begin to empower people as citizens, then there is no way. We are not going to have all these problems, all these politics and all those things. I think we can fight, we can argue about politics, we can argue about elections, but we cannot continue talking about elections. We cannot continue talking about the legitimacy crisis 1 year after the election, and we are still facing the economic crisis. And on this side, President Emmerson Mnangagwa is saying there are no talks on the GNU. On the other side,